Ah, yes, I've had that done. I've had that too. Yes. Amazing how that happens, isn't it?
Um, Nikki, are you suggesting in part two of Basis 131 that when I was making reference to you to somebody falling asleep, are you that person? Where was it you? Come on, you can tell me. I'll only put it on the edit and make sure everybody knows.
I have done remote views before, and I have fallen asleep during a remote view. So, and I apparently I snore very lightly.
Um, Nikki, we're doing something very serious here. I mean, we're talking seriously here about major things, right? Okay, that's lightened the evening. Well,
All
hello,
right.
Nikki Colombo. Is that right? Let's get your name right.
Yes. Yes. How you doing, Miles?
I'm doing fine. I'm glad that everything planned, or our plans have come to fruition, if I can say that.
Yes.
It's easy for me to say, somebody says. Now, it's sort of in part one, I think we sort of introduced you, right? And that's good. And there was a Goyam photograph that we used. You took a
Yes.
you caught a Goyam now, or a little figurine moving. Is that right? We can sort of pick up on that. In fact, I mean, why don't I just we don't, not that keyboard. Don't touch that keyboard. Because if we sort of pick up on that was sort of at the end of. Okay, this is it. Uh,
Yeah, that's
Now
taken
you
with my phone 3
so that's
and
actually a reflection in your
oh, my
glasses,
sunglasses
your
mirror.
sunglasses. Now the thing we're looking at the sort of thing like with a hat on. It looks as if it's almost got a hat on. Is that right? No, that's you.
I've got the hat on, but the Goyam's got like horns or something.
Yeah.
And you can see a grey down the bottom where I've circled the grey as well. There's actually lots of faces actually in that picture, but for some reason it's come out blurry. And
Well,
it's
we
well,
are.
it was,
This particular picture we're looking at is very low resolution, so I've had to blow it up quite a lot. It's very few pixels. So, I mean, if you have a better version of that, maybe you did send me that. I don't know, but
I did, and that was in part one. That
yeah.
was in part
Okay.
one.
Well, we'll back reference that. Now, the important thing about seeing things like that is you don't see them in reality, but you see them in reflection. Is that
Isn't
right?
it amazing? Like I just happened to put my husband's mirrored sunglasses on and took a photo of myself in the mirror.
A
So you're
selfie.
getting like
Yeah.
double mirror, and then you could see this. I was calling it a golem, but it's really a goyim. You corrected me on that, so that's really what it's called, a goyim. And that's when I realized I knew it was there, and I looked up on it. And then when I had my remote view with Becky Barron, she goes, "You've got one of these attached to your light body," and she actually got it off for me. And as soon as she said that, I've got a photo of it because I was in shock that she actually saw it. And then I had a photo of it. I was like, I knew exactly what she was talking about. So she did fight that demonic entity off my light body for me. And
Now,
I'm
this is
forever.
important because you can see things in polarized light. And I think your sunglasses, were they Polaroid? Were they
No, they were
Polaroid?
just
Just,
mirrored. They were mirrored.
but it's interesting. There's a phenomenon called Kirchhoff's mirrors, and they're curved mirrors. And if you go into the middle of the mirrors, you start having amazing experiences because you're having. It's all to do with the sort of. It's not the illusion of reality. It's the mix of many other realities within reality,
Yeah.
and we
The
are
bent
only
light.
optically seeing them. But when you do a thing like that, it's a double reflection. That's one way of seeing it. That's what I'm trying to describe.
Yeah.
So, what did all that mean, and what were the circumstances behind all that? And could you please talk more
Well,
about
it
the
was
person who noticed it and was able to see it in your light body?
well, I this took ages to work out, but we discussed in part one that it was a black magician had actually put that on, and it's to do with the sexual misery program. It's to do with siphoning sexual energy off people like myself, starseeds, light workers, indigos, that kind of thing. You'd have to go on to Lisa Renee's energetic synthesis and look up sexual misery program to see. And she's actually got a little picture of something very similar to that. It's to do with black magic. It's to do with the black magician can see and feel what is going on through that interface of that demonic entity that's attached to people's light bodies.
Yes,
put it that way.
People can leave things like a witness, physical thing, a piece of metal, for instance, like a little figurine.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's to do with you having sex, and they use that as an interface, and they can manipulate the visions in your mind.
Yes.
To something quite dark.
Through your energy field.
Yeah, and I thought it was me, and I'm like, holy shit, I am so fucked up. This is so bad. And I realized this was not my sexual desires at all. And I realized it was actually the sexual desires of the black magician. Miles, this took years. This took 8 years to work out. It's taken 8 years to work out.
Well, do you want to go into that story, or would reliving that or explaining it not be helpful for you?
Too dark. But this is why porn sites are so popular, because you're orgasming off certain images off the screen, but the remote control from the goyim can switch. So you're having this beautiful dream or these beautiful visions of making love to someone, really, and it could be really beautiful. But just at the last minute, just before you have an orgasm, they switch it to something really dark as.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, and it's too late because you're already orgasming and the visions have popped in. You're like, oh, whoa, what's going on? And then you freak out and you're going, oh my God, I'm a horrible person. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And it wasn't me at all. It wasn't even my bloody sexual desires, nothing. I couldn't work it out why. And it wasn't until, like I told you, I had Becky come along and she fixed it for me. And I knew it's a little step over it just little things came to me over the years, because I keep asking the universe questions, what was going on, all that kind of thing. And it was ruining my love life, all that. And this is how they're doing it. Things are done by remote control today. I don't think people realize that,
Maybe they've always been done by remote control, but they...
I think so. Like, a lot of people keep calling the elite, and I'm like, we're being remote controlled from off-world. I mean, that's how I feel, honestly. These parasites are parasiting off our Earth by remote control. And they're using... I mean, it's crazy to think that you don't have control over your own mind. But we do, Miles. It's just that when we become aware that we're being manipulated, we can take our power back.
Exactly. This is precisely what this is all about.
This is what's happening. And a lot of people are feeling really guilty because they're getting off on dark images that are not even theirs. And it's not only sexual either. It can be anything. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can be like, oh my God, they're not your thoughts. There's something else. We've got to learn to discern the difference between our own natural thoughts and our own mind, own. Like, I can see spherically, and I realize now that it's called the radial body or the Hoover body, and it's a sphere around the body, like a projection. And I know it's really wild.
Is that how women? This phenomenon is, somebody's watching you or whatever. When a man sort of says, "God, she's a right whatever," good looker or whatever, they turn round and they know.
That's how.
Is that what do you use? Is that spherical vision?
It is, and it's really hard to kind of define. But like the first time I ever saw spherically, it's like being inside a sphere, and it's like you're the eye.
Yeah.
and you can see 360 degrees. You just don't see like this. It's like I was up in space and I could see the Earth, but I was an eye, one big 360 degree eye, and I could see spherically.
I think
Like at the moment,
there's another case on that when soldiers are trained when they're going to kill
oh wow,
a sentry, a soldier. When you're being trained to kill a sentry, if you're creeping up on an enemy combatant, you've got to think past what you're intending because they will pick up on that and they'll turn around and they'll get you. It's the
that's right.
same sort of thing.
Well, we don't. Well, linear sight or timelines really don't exist. I mean, we're all in a sphere, and in the sphere within a sphere within a sphere, which is explains the mechanics behind time is happening all at once. Whereas the linear time that we look at, when we look in a straight line, it's really an illusion, but it's designed that way so we can have things to go step by step so we can understand it. But in reality, the line is really a sphere. It goes around in a circle. And so when your pineal eye opens, it's just not looking this way. It's looking like that. So you can see this multidimensional spherical, you're inside it, but you can see it's like being inside a ball and you can see the whole thing all at once. It's wild. It's wild.
Is that
really
what happens when you have a near-death experience? You're going into your energy body or something like that? So you always see it from up above for some reason.
You do.
Or do you?
Well, most of the time people see just the screen, but they're only seeing part of the screen. And I think what's happening, because I ask many people that come on my show and I screen them and I know that they're light workers because I can tell by the wording and all that kind of stuff. And I ask them, can you see spherically? And they have had that experience too. And this is what's happening. All of us are starting to realize that it's just not a screen like this, what we're looking on a computer at the moment. It's a sphere. And we're starting to pick up on that because we're becoming more conscious of it, more conscious of it, and more conscious of it. And it's wild. It's just wild. It explains a lot of things. Explains a lot of things.
Well, go into that more. I mean, this is fascinating.
Well, I think that's what's happening with these goyams or anything that's attached to your light body. They're tapping in, and you just think of it as linear, but it's not. They're tapping into the whole spherical energy field of you and gaining access to not just your light body, but all the different layers of your body that you've got. You've got your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body. You've got your monad, you've got your oversoul, you've got your avatar, you've got your rishi, you've got all this spheres within spheres. And for some reason, with certain black magic, because it's like a program or a mathematical program or a spell or whatever you want to call it, they're able to define and attach, especially if they know. If a black magician knows your birth date and all those kind of details about your astrological sign and can pinpoint, it's kind of like in the Matrix, when they're trying to pinpoint the person through the code, through the code, and they go, oh, we haven't found him yet. They're like, hurry up, he's going to have a heart attack. And it's kind of like that. And they pinpoint you and then they hook in like a parasite. And then once they're in there, that's how they can take control over the program of your sexual energy or any energy that you're doing, and they can manipulate you and you think it's you and it's not. And this is why I say to a lot of people, please stop hating on the human race. It's not all our fault, okay? Because a lot of us have been, especially the ones at the top, they've been taken over by possession, and this is how they're doing it. And all this stuff about spaceships and stuff at the moment, people are looking at, They haven't. I've come to this conclusion with many people. They're not going to come in cowboy style, shooting guns and blah, blah, blah. They've infiltrated us through possession.
Yes.
They're doing it.
But this is one of the things that you're now asked for in many things is your birth date, just as you mentioned. So these entities, these companies, these creatures, these energy fields, these corporations are using these fundamental things you just said for getting access to you.
That's right. And your astrological sign and all when the planets are aligned to a certain, position in the cosmos and they all align, they open up a portal right? You come through that portal or that Stargate or whatever, and that energy affects you and defines your personality of who you are. And then they can pinpoint where, like, if you where you were born, the place you were born, and they've got all that information on you, where they can come in and just, like the code, override the program. But now we're starting to take our power back by learning how to override their program and get rid of it.
Essentially, you seem to have described basically astrology, and this is why everybody looks at the astrology, the astrology stuff in their newspapers. Is this some way that they're using to feed off us?
Well, the ones in the newspapers are a generalized
Well,
version.
obviously,
Like,
yeah.
I'm a Leo, and not every Leo is the same. So we have, our sun sign and our moon sign, and that all colors our personality and our
But is that
nurture,
how
nature.
is that how that happens? Because of the position of the planets. How does that work? It seems to be
It
similar to
pins,
what you were saying.
well, they're pinpointing the time of when your soul came in to your mother to give birth at that particular time. And if it's like a program, they've got all the programs of exactly the pinpoint of when you were actually birthed into this planet. And if Black magicians on Earth can know all that information about you, that's when they've got a lot of power over you, because they can define and they can manipulate you. And this is what's
Now,
going on.
when there are people who say that the you have the baby, this whole thing about abortion, right? Up until a certain time, you're just a bunch of cells, and those cells then, do something, and then they stay. There's a time when the entity or your soul enters. Is it
Yes.
28 weeks or something, or what is it?
33 to 56 days is the time that you've got up until then, if you don't want to go through with it. But do you want me to tell you what I found out about abortion? It's really amazing. A lot
Yeah,
of
there's
women out there.
my friend Jane Shattuck's all about that, because she says you're reincarnated, very damaged when you come back after that.
Well, what I found out is, like, years ago, like millions of years ago, there were certain ETs that came to this planet that wanted our gene code. And so they interbred with us. And women were not happy about this, because they knew that they were bringing in dark avatars. They knew that they were coming in to destroy or alter our genetic code. And so a lot of the women committed suicide, killed themselves, that kind of thing. It got to a point where they actually got us and they put us on slabs and chained us. This is way past Atlantean times. This is like, I think it's Atlantis 1. There's 1, 2, and 3. It was really right back to the first Atlantis. So these women knew that they were bringing in these dark avatars or these dark ETs to alter our genetic code or to gain access to it. And that's why abortion started. So for all those women out there that feel guilty, don't judge yourself, because that's a little bit of information that might help you.
Well, it seems very poignant, and this is a dreadful subject, but we're dealing with very serious, dreadful times. I mean, the Prime Minister of Scotland has just had to resign because, I mean, there are obviously many other reasons why she was retired. But there was a law which they'd had allowing this whole thing about the woke agenda and denying the divine feminine and the divine male, and then anybody, whatever they got, just put on a hat and a bra and walk into a prison and commit horrendous crimes. Now that was because Scotland was going to be a place where you could legally declare your sex or whatever. Now I don't know the exact details, but that seems to be part of the current agenda, to destroy the divine feminine and the divine masculine, destroy us, which is why we're in so much trouble.
Yes. And to confuse little kids about their gender and all this kind of stuff. It's to stop the hieroskamos of the male and the divine masculine feminine within us to come together and balance out. I myself grew up thinking that I needed to be strong and powerful, and I was a bit more masculine. about now that I've gotten older, I realized there's power in the feminine, because we're taught to think that the feminine is weak, and it's not. It's actually quite powerful.
Well, as the
So
song says,
they're
as the song says, the female is more deadly than the male, as the song says.
Yeah, yeah. And you can see that that program of misogyny for thousands of years, like you can ask that question, why is there such programs in our society and culture that fear the women so much, and the programs, are built with young men and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff that's happening. You got to ask yourself why, because some of these negative controllers, they fear us because we can create. They
You can
get us to
also
manipulate.
see.
They,
You have the
they
senses
can't
to
create.
see.
They can't create jack shit. I mean, they can in their own frequency, but they need us to actually do it, to control us and to manipulate us, because we're the creatives. We bring the souls into this planet, and it's very lucrative to capture those souls and harvest the loosh. Hence why we're getting back to the reason why these golems and all this black magic and all this kind of stuff's happening with people all around the world, and they're frightened and they don't understand what's going on. I really hope that people understand today that it's not them, and to learn to discern what's you and what's not you. And I know that's very frightening to come to the realization that your mind has been taken over. It's in the air. It's everywhere. Everywhere you look, see, feel, think, whatever. It's everywhere. There's programs everywhere, and there's low frequencies and carrier waves, all sorts of EMFs. Everything's going on at the moment to try and attack the human soul and the human psyche and the love that we have in our hearts. But we're coming back. We're coming back. We're starting to learn. We needed this darkness, though. We needed this darkness and the light to understand exactly what's going on, so that we can learn and grow. Like this school, planet Earth, is going to be the best school ever. You've got to be a really strong soul to come here. And once you start to learn, we're starting to learn and master these energies and understand them for what they really are. My God, when we leave here, my God, we'll be experts wherever we go. That's how
But
I
you're
feel.
coming with a very positive thing, which is really important, because we are faced with such negativity and control and the terrible things that the media are feeding us, and we're under horrendous attack from the media and the corporate elite and all that sort of stuff. We've heard all that before. Where, from an Australian point of view, it from an outsider's point of view, Australia seems to be like a prison continent under the control of the the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes.
All the sort of terrible things that were done during the lockdown, and now we're facing this 15-minute city totally locking us down, confining us, numbering us, the ID, the all that. Where
Yeah.
where do you see our awakening able to overcome that?
Well, for me, there's two different consciousness on the planet. There's the people who are awake, that resonate and generate themselves towards the positive polarity. And then you got the people who are unawake. And the ones who are positive are spiraling up in consciousness, and the ones who are negative are spiraling down, who are in fear, who've refused to look at their own soul, to do some spiritual work. They're the ones spiraling down in frequency, and eventually it will become a snap point. So we're talking about two different consciousness in the same reality bucket. So I think there's going to be a dichotomy of split. The thing is that Mother Earth will allow a certain amount of negativity before the pendulum goes, right, that's enough, and it'll swing the other way. So it just depends on where you're at in your consciousness, how much you're willing to ask yourself those really deep questions and go into, like I did, what is going on with me? Why am I looking at this shit? What's happening to me? Blah, 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 blah. And it took 8 years, but I finally worked it out, and I discovered what was going on. They're the deep questions we really have to ask about ourselves, so that we can master these energies. We can master these negative entities, things like that. So for me, Australia at the moment, we're all very aware of it, of what you just said before. We can't even say that
Yeah, there's things
China.
that we are restricted on being
I
said.
can't even say someone's Chinese without getting called a friggin' racist. It's like, well, they are. things like that. They're trying to shut me up. And I'm like, you've got to be joking. This political correctness, like, stick it up your bum. I don't give a shit. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. This is my frigging country. I was born here and I'll fight for it. And I don't give a shit what people say if they call me frigging racist. That I'm just calling someone Chinese because they're Chinese. That's the thing. The political correctness is squishing us down to the point where we're like so wrapped up we can't even bloody talk anymore.
Well, it's the woke agenda now. It's political correctness is so last century. It's woke, thereby, attacking people who are waking up.
That's right. But the thing is, like, when we went through that 2 years, we were all locked down. We all had long hair, and no one had a haircut, and we all got fat and all this kind of stuff. We weren't allowed out and get to work. And then the police came along and they were shooting rubber bullets and there was blood and all this kind of stuff and all the drama that happened there.
Explain that? We haven't heard too much about that. Could you want to explain what happened with rubber bullets?
I filmed it from my apartment. It was amazing, all the people that came out to protest against that. And then eventually when they went to the Shrine of Remembrance, which is a pyramid with the top cut off, it's a great big park with a great big pyramid in there to a memorial to the World War II veterans and a sign of freedom. They all went there to protest, and that's when the police came out fully dressed in like military armor and started shooting rubber bullets and stuff like that. And I remember one cop said, I'm not trained to do anything else. I thought, oh wow, we'll get another job. The thing is that on the flip side of that woke people up to the corruption, to ask questions, just to ask a tiny little question plants a seed. You know what it's like, Miles, you plant a seed. We're all planting little seeds, and it's this seeds is starting to grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are starting to waken up and question things of why. What is going on here? Why are they so heavy-handed? These people just want to work without taking the whacks, What is wrong with that? What's happened to freedom here? We're supposed to be a free country.
Well, you're not. I don't think people here know about that. It's like a lot of people don't know about the Ohio train wreck. It's the most polluting, most disastrous thing. It could take out 25% of the population of the United States. But what happened there? Because there's something like that happened at the Washington Monument in the 1930s. There were loads of people which were attacked by the military. I think they used live ammunition. What happened about that? I mean, is there any information on that available?
I don't know about the Washington one, but I know the Ohio one. It's worse than what they're letting out. Like that Earth will not heal or regenerate for a really, really long time. It's so bad and so toxic.
Probably permanent. That will always come
back.
And
just at the same time as that was happening, we've got the Turkish earthquakes as well. And we got Syria. And then I'm thinking, the underground wars that's going on with the ETs, has that got something to do with the earthquake in Turkey and Syria and Egypt now? Because another one's just happened recently.
Oh, explain that. What do you mean by that? Explain all those various things you just said.
Well, a lot of us have remote viewed a lot of DUMBs, which is the deep underground bases. Julian Assange has just released, he's just done a big drop of all of that. It was about 10,000 bases. So a lot of us have remote viewed that. And a lot of them...
From the point of view of this recording, we're recording this at the third week of February 2023. Could you, whilst it's current in your knowledge sphere with what you know currently going on, from the point of view of a viewer who's looking at this out of context, could you explain all those subjects that you just mentioned?
Okay, well, we had in Australia here, we had some pretty bad fires last year. We had some pretty bad floods that keep happening in the same spot over and over and over again. A lot of us are getting the feeling that, and seeing the visions through our remote viewing, that a lot of these disasters happening on the surface are to do with something that's going on underground in these bases. And sometimes these things that are happening on the surface are not done on purpose, but they are a result, like collateral damage of what's really going underground. Now, a lot of the bases here in Australia have been flooded out. They've been cleaned out. A lot of these bases were not only experimenting on humans, but they were also experimenting on ETs as well. So it goes both ways. It's just not one way, it's both ways. Children, weapons, all this kind of stuff was being trafficked, all that kind of thing. But it's slowly being cleaned out. So any time that I look at a disaster on the earth, I always question what's going on. And Turkey does have a lot of underground tunnels, as we know. We've seen some of those tunnels underneath, that have been, tunneled out for, like, they're really, really old, things like that. Then you've got Syria and you've got Egypt, poignant positions on the earth to do with ley lines and frequencies and all sorts of stuff going on.
That's very interesting, because Sandra Droyd mentioned that sort of stuff in Loss of a recent interview or seminar she gave in those very areas.
Well, there's literally a war going on. This is the invisible war that we all talk about. People think it's a spiritual war, and it is. But the 3D reality is looking up at the sky at the spaceships coming in and come and try and kill us, blah, 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 blah. And it's not. They've infiltrated us through possession, and there is a war going on underneath the surface of our planet. And you can sometimes hear some of these strange sounds that are coming up where people go, what the hell is that? And it sounds like a big bell or going on. And where is it coming from? There's a lot of construction going on in Australia. We're only 200 years old, so we're constantly building all the time. And I think what's happening is when they build the tram lines, they're also building out something else underneath as well, tunnels or whatever. So for me, it's all being cleaned out at the moment, and there's a big war going on with the good. We've got the good guys and the bad guys and everything all in between. And sometimes we win and sometimes we don't. But ultimately, Mother Earth has had enough. And she's like, the pendulum will, it gets really, really bad. The pendulum will go, okay, fail-safe time, that's enough. I'm not putting up with any more abuse of my children anymore, and it will start to swing the other way. The thing is that we've got to ride that pendulum to the positive way by our choices in life and our ability to have the tenacity and the courage to look at what's really going on with our soul, so that we can heal and clear out our emotional bullshit. For me, ascension is 99% of clearing your emotional trauma. That's what I feel. It's like, it's not bringing this down, it's letting everything go so that you can rise up in frequency and hop onto that pendulum as it swings back, while the other people are at their polarity. And the ones that are really negative, that really want to hurt the earth and us as a human race, are spiraling down. And I've actually seen what this looks like, and it was really disturbing for me, because I saw a couple of friends that I actually love being swept away in a funnel, like it was like water, but it was grass underneath, and they were all being swept. Like, I was looking at water underneath, and I could see them being curled up in a fetal position and being sucked into this vortex that went round, 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 and they're just sucked out. And I'm like, oh my God. So that's, for me, that's where I see, like, some of the really, really bad dudes on the planet at the top that are really manipulating. That's where I see they're going. They're going to actually be sucked into this spiral vortex where God knows where they're going. They could be going to a black hole or whatever. I don't know, but that's what I saw. And the people who are really positive are going to be, in a frequency where everything's a lot better and a lot happier and a lot more love and a lot more balance and harmony. So we've got two frequencies happening on at the planet at the moment, plus all these sub-levels in between those two polarities. Wow.
But that's amazing. But it's interesting that what you're saying is echoed by other observers. I don't like quoting from other people because this is your perception, but it seems similar to what others are saying.
Wonderful. I'm glad they're picking up on that too. That's great. That's great. See, it's not so bad. It's not as bad as what we think it is. We got to focus and look at all. We've got to be optimistic, not pessimistic. Otherwise, it can drag us down. It can make us very, very sad, very depressed, and then that just pulls in more negativity towards you, and you start to spiral down. Okay, it's not as bad as what you think. There is good forces there. We can't keep focusing on the darkness all the time. And the media, oh my God, they're so toxic. That's all they do. Focus on the negative stuff all the time for clickbait or whatever, on the news or whatever, because it keeps people interested. But that does stuff to your psyche. We don't need that.
I think from our perspective, Sky News Australia would be running a lot of really brilliant stories which you would not have here. And I'm not too sure if they've been taken off YouTube a couple of times. But is that the only sort of source of good media? Is there any media
No.
in
They're all crap.
we have a similar situation in this country. There's a breath of fresh air called GB News, which I think
only good media is people that come online and search out information like this that resonate. They find the most amazing stuff, and some of the people out there right now, Miles, are doing the most incredible work. They are the most incredible researchers that university journalists from mainstream media would love to have the talents. That's what's going on with the normal people today that are awakened, that are researching. Like, I get sent stuff that blows my mind sometimes. It's absolutely incredible. I'm really happy to see that people are interested, like I was when I first woke up, when I went on this full-on obsessive journey to find out what happened to me. People are waking up and doing that now, and they've got access to that information, and they're resonating towards that, and they're gaining more consciousness and more expansion and understanding themselves more. And then they're starting to get all the pieces of the puzzle, and that all comes, and you look back at it, and it's a great big picture now. People are understanding that. The more they understand, the less fear. That's
Absolutely.
what's happening.
Fear is no fear. Yeah.
That's right. And the more they understand it, and sometimes it can be really ugly and really horrible, but that doesn't matter, because the understanding kicks in and overrides the fear or the sadness about it, and you start to understand, and you accept. We've got to accept the darkness is here for a reason, and the light is here too. We can't just keep denying the dark, because that's just being ignorant. And we need to see what's going on with both sides. I think that's got a lot of spiritual people tend to think that they're under the misconception, oh, I don't want to look at it something negative. Can't look at anything kind of negative. Yes, you bloody can.
Well, this is a major criticism of the so-called love and light community. They've been hijacked into this do-nothing illusion.
That's right.
I'm trying to be as objective as possible on that. I mean, you're saying it the way it should be, in my opinion.
Well, when you get to a certain level, you become unified in your consciousness. So you can sit in that unified consciousness and look at both sides without judgment. That's not bad and that's not good. They're both bad and good at the same time. You can see, but one is more good and one is more bad, but there's sub-levels to that. And so if we stop judging as that is bad and that is good, and you pull back your consciousness and look at it for both sides for what it is, you become more accepting of the darkness, and you become less afraid. And this is when the warrior kicks in. Because if you can go out there and fight demons in your head, you are a warrior now. Things like that. I mean, that is where your consciousness kicks in to the point where you are now a warrior consciousness, and you're not afraid anymore. It's the people who won't look at the darkness that they become afraid, and they become ignorant, and they're always trying to search out in the light, and things aren't always pure, because there's no such thing as pure on this earth at the moment. Eventually it will become like that, I'm hoping, but at the moment, the light has got sub levels of slight darkness in it, and the darkness has got sub levels of light in it, and we can't look at it like that. It's pulling them into this split frequency of that's good and that's bad, and then they can't understand with what's going on. When you pull back and you look at things from both sides, you get a much better understanding what's going on, and you become less afraid. You become more fearless. And that's when you can allow more consciousness, more understanding. And then you're not reacting and being pulled from one reaction to the other, like a pinball game. People go ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, because they're reacting and they're reacting. And that's exactly what the controllers want you to do. They don't want you to stand in that peaceful, meditative state of unified consciousness and go, I don't need to react to that. I understand both sides for what it is, and I accept it for what it is. Now I can play the game a little bit differently.
Well, we did, but you've referred to your experiences and things, and we do have a series of photographs or images that we went a great deal of trouble to get. So,
Yes.
shall we talk about those at the moment?
Yes.
We'll just go through them. Okay, we've got this image on the screen which looks like somebody's shoulder, and some shining light or whatever it is. Explain what that is, or what's that
Okay,
about?
if you look in the window, you can see. Now, I spoke to Misha Johnson about this, and I talked to her about this, and she goes, that looks like a tall white. Now, this is a personal shot from a close friend of mine. And it was taken in his, he was taking a picture of himself, actually caught it in the back, and he didn't have
This is another thing. Now, I've got the mouse. Can you see that? Can you guide me where? Can you see that from your side?
Go up to
if I wiggle the mouse, okay.
Yeah, okay, go up a little bit higher.
It's a bit
That's the face there. You'll see the two black eyes.
Ooh.
Go down a bit.
Is that an eye there?
Yes, it is. And that's, and then there's another
eye there.
No, to the left.
That's
an eye.
Yeah.
Now go to the left.
Yeah.
That's the other eye.
Right.
You'll see the face.
Right. Now I'm going to do that. Is that the whole head?
I'm not sure, because that top bit looks like a double reflection of the eyes that are underneath. But that.
Yeah, I can see that. Those two eyes now. Yes.
Exactly.
If you look at this, it's quite difficult. Yeah. Let's see if we can get that bigger.
I've given you a cropped version of it.
You have? Okay.
I have given you a cropped version of it, so you can see it. See, now that thing is either 8 feet tall or it can float.
Is that? Yeah. That's and there's the mouth. Is that the mouth?
Yeah.
Where's the crop version?
It's in the photos.
Right. Let's go out of that. Okay. Let's.
Crop version.
There.
There we go.
Okay, and let's.
And you can actually see inside that black eye on the right hand side.
That there.
It's like there's a pupil or something in there. Look at that.
Yeah. So there is the reflections of the shutter, right? The window shutters.
Yes. Yes. I have had CGI experts on this and everything like that, and they've all been debating and stuff like that. And
okay, Misha Johnson, she's got a tremendous reputation. Explain how that whole relationship happened that you were talking to Misha. Misha's a really great lady. Met her many times.
Well, Misha and I have been good friends for over 10 years, and I went on her groups, and that's where my knowledge of the UFO community and what was really going on really exploded, because I was listening to other people from all around the world having similar experiences as what I did. So when I showed her this, she goes, that looks like a tall white. And because she sent me another photo of something very similar to that. And I'm like, whoa, and it had more of a whitish skin. It's a bit hard to tell here because of the colors in the photo, but it's white. And it's either 8 or 9 feet tall, or they can float.
Well, they're meant to be very tall. I think that's possibly the clue in the name, tall whites. Now, when was this? Because I understand they were forcibly removed or wiped out during the Paradise fires. I think just before lockdown,
This
2018.
was this was 2013 or 14.
Right.
2013, 2014.
Is that is
And the
it's
thing
not
is that
dated on this in any way? No. Yeah.
no, but the circumstances around that picture when it was taken was the guy in the photo, him and I, when we reconnected again on Facebook after many years of knowing each other since childhood, our psychic abilities went through the roof, and he films UFOs every second day and can call them in. He's at that level. And we couldn't understand why we could see them and no one else could. So the circumstances around that was this strange phenomena that had ramped up. The Milab experiences, the marks left on our bodies, things like that. It was like insane. It was insane. And then he takes a picture like that, and I go, "What's that in the window?" He goes, "I didn't even see that. Oh my God, you know?" So yeah, you can see it.
I wonder if there's any kind of a processing that could actually assemble that picture up into something, but maybe NASA would have it or whatever. So, explain more about your relationship with this guy. And
Well, we both had similar upbringings from the same place on the Gold Coast, and when we reconnected on Facebook after many years, our because we were interested in UFOs and stuff like that and ETs and everything like that, when we got together, it was just more and more phenomena kept happening over and over again, to the point where, he can call them in and film them and just think about them, and they're there, and orbs coming into the house, and looking at photos of ourselves and seeing strange creatures behind us, and all this crazy stuff. Starting to work with energy, putting our hands over lights and turning them on, off and on, and me putting my hand over the microwave and blowing things up. Hearing and seeing and feeling things on an acute level that you're like, whoa, what's going on here? It was just crazy. And it was exciting, and it was fun, and it was amazing. And these psychic abilities just kicked in to the point where every day was absolutely amazing. There was something, crazy or phenomena going on. Marks left on our bodies. Like you can see right now here, we've got my finger at the moment right in the middle of there is a triangle. The triangle right in the middle there. And triangles are a sign of the greys. And you can see the little dots around that triangle. That was left after greys were run around the house, in my house. I could see them etherically. And I remember my higher self I was asleep one morning, and my higher self was saying, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, because I was like, and I was like, I must have been dreaming. I was like running or being chased or something like that. And I quickly opened my eyes, and when a vampire suddenly comes up out of the coffin.
oh, the old sort of vampire coming out of the closet thing.
I woke up and I quickly sat up, and they could feel them pull away, and I could see on the bed. They must have been leaning over me like this, because I saw the bed sheets puff up, and then I could feel their energy and their presence move away from me. They must have been looking at me while I was asleep, and my higher self's going, wake up, wake up, wake up, because I was like, oh, wake up, oh my God, and I scared them. And that was left. See, there we go. Triangles again. More triangles. Triangles are a hallmark of the greys. Yeah.
Any particular type of grey? Any particular species, or good, bad, or indifferent?
I tend to see the ones that are more blue, and they're little kids, and they got there was a little girl I saw and two little boys at the end of my bed. and the little girl had more stringy hair, and they were about 3.5 feet. Yeah, they were about 3.5 feet.
Would that be what some people call a hybrid, or?
Yeah, yeah, they were more bluish and stringy hair. But the two little greys on that were beside the little girl in the middle looked more like the greys, but their skin wasn't grey; it was more bluish. So I see those ones. I haven't seen any adult ones. They're always like children.
Well, let's talk about those experiences with the greys. Can you go into those?
Well, in part one, I describe how I could see three greys at the bottom of my bed, but at the same time, I could actually see what was happening to me in an underground base. And you can go back to part one and have a look at that. But the three little greys that I saw, like children, and I suspect that they might be my children, because as when we go back to part one and I described to you what happened, I think they were taking my eggs, and I think the three little greys at the end of my bed were the result of that hybridization. And they were really nonchalant. They were really void. They were really nothing. They were real. I could pick up nothing from them, like no feeling whatsoever. It was just a void energy. Whereas the monochromatic illumination that I saw during this regression that I had with Misha, I could see this big, tall, gorgeous guy I told you about with the big blue eyes and everything like that was, taking my eggs, right? So I was more fascinated with that. And his skin was like just baby skin. It was incredible. But this image of me being in an underground base and the three little greys at the bottom of my bed were like slightly overlapped like that. So to the right was the underground base scenario, and to the left at the bottom, because I could see the outline of my feet and a light behind me, and I could see these three little greys. So I think they were showing me that they might have been my hybrid children. That's the only thing I can really come to a conclusion of why that all happened.
But
I
they
felt
didn't let
nothing.
you experience or touch or feel these children like some
No,
abductees.
I could feel nothing from them. Whereas the other incident, that was full on. I could feel, see, and hear and smell everything. Whereas the grey incident was, and I think Misha was directing it in that way so that I could find out what went on with me, so I could understand what actually happened to me. Whereas the grey incident was just like a side effect of what that real underground base experience was all about, because I was more focused on that. So these little greys were just more of the result of it. But this image that we're seeing at the moment, that was years before the incident that I've just told you. That was recent, right? So I'd
When you
actually,
say recent, do you talk 5 years?
yeah, 6-7 years ago. Whereas these images, say with the triangles and stuff like that, and the other one I've given you to with the purple dotted triangle with the grey going hi, and it's got little blobby bits on it like this. That was 2013. Everything happened after 2012, 2013. Yeah,
Is
there we
this the
go.
one? Okay.
Yes. See, that was on my leg. And you can see the triangle face and the hand up like that with the blobby bits on the end of the fingers. That's circled. See the hand going out. And you can see the eyes, the triangle face, right? And
Yes.
then below that is a pyramid or a triangle again
Yeah, you got
this
that
way.
shape. There's a sort of a is that or
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
your pyramid there?
that's the pyramid with the dots, the purple dots that I think were injection marks,
Are you
scopolamine.
talking in there somewhere or?
No, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's
There's
5
one,
purple
two,
dots.
three, four, five, and then
Yeah,
there's a group of three here. Is that right?
yeah, but they're not purple.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they're not injection marks. Funny thing is though,
And
Miles,
those are
that
the
these
other group. That's the other group there.
that's the grey. See the two eyes,
Yeah.
and it's got a triangle head. And to the right, you see it's going high and it's got the blobs on its fingers. Yeah, that's its 3 fingers with the blobs on the end of its fingers.
Those
Like the
are those
blob.
blobs are there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It seems like there's a ring there. No, no. Maybe I'm reading too much into that.
No,
There's a couple more there. Is that right?
they're moles. They're
They're just
moles.
moles. Okay.
They're moles, yeah. But yes, scopolamine they use, which is truth serum or devil's breath, they call it in America. That's one of the injections I suspect. The other injections could be tracking devices or implants or whatever.
What do you mean this devil's breath thing? Explain that.
Well, there's lots of names for it's truth serum,
Right.
scopolamine,
Yeah.
or they call it devil's breath in South America. Because
So that would be that would be poisons from plants or something.
I don't know,
in
but
South America.
God knows what I told them.
Yeah,
I don't remember. God knows what I told them, being, I was obviously knocked out. I was unconscious. I had no idea what was going on. And the thing is, Moles, is that those little dots, they didn't scab over. That was really puzzling to me. When you get an injection, you get a little scab and it comes off and then it disappears. Well, the marks didn't scab over, which was really, really weird to me. So
I think that seems to be relatively common in terms of these marks that you get. They don't seem to heal, but then they just disappear. I think that's your triangle there. Is that still there?
Yep. Funny how it's on that finger.
No, really. Tell us all about Misha, because she's a brilliant therapist. I mean, how did you get in contact with her? And did you go to the States to meet her, or was it all on Skype or whatever? Because Australia's a long way, or is it?
Well, I discovered her group, Starseed Awakening, and that just blew me away. Then I went on to her private groups. That blew me away, because I'm talking to people all around the world that are having similar experiences to what I was having. And I start to learn what was going on, especially about the black ops and all this kind of stuff, right? So then I got to the point where I was definitely under some sort of Milab program, and they were just torturing the shit out of me, and I'd had enough. So I flew to Fiji to stay with my mum, and when I was over there, I contacted Misha, and that's when we did a Skype, and she put me under hypnosis on Skype, and that's when I found out what was going on. Some of these photos here you're seeing now, guys, that was an incident where I was attacked in my car, and that was during when I heard V2K, which is voice to skull technology, and what I heard was, "Let her do it." So while I was being attacked in the car,
I'm going to blow a whistle on that. I had an experience V2K as I got into the car. I've just been seeing Duncan Davis, and I got this very clear voice: "You are about to die," and that was repeated several times. "You are about to die," and I then became aware that something was going to happen, because somebody said, "You are about to die." And the cruise control wouldn't disengage from the car, and I took necessary action to deal with that. And then I tested it again. The cruise control re-engaged in an assassination mode, i.e., a car would keep accelerating, and I overcame that. The event didn't happen, but it's part of the general attack on things.
Yes.
So I'm interested to hear, from my personal perspective, how that went with you.
Well, I was waiting to get into my car park in my house, and the next door neighbour's daughter had blocked me. I couldn't get up. I was up on a hill, so I needed that momentum to get up and go left into my car park. And she blocked me. So I was waiting there, and I was, it was about 5 minutes in the car, and I'm waiting. I'm listening to music. I had my son in the car, and I'm waiting. Finally, I beat the horn. She comes out, "What are you beeping at? Blah, blah, blah." And she comes down to the right, and out of nowhere, she'd had a fight with her mother. Found out later on she was already revved up. So she just started hammering into me, and it was really weird, Miles, because the old Nikki would have gotten out of my car and got my microphone stand out the back of my car and got out and friggin' defended myself. But I didn't. There was this overwhelming stop my flight and fright response. The only thing I could do, this was kind of weird because usually I'm a Leo, I would be, I would go for her if she was trying to attack me. The only thing I could do was block her so she couldn't get my temple. So she got everywhere else. That's why you see it on the shoulder and you see my face and up here. So I was blocking her, right? She went bash, 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 grunted. Her eyes went black, and then she did it again. And during this experience, I hear, let her do it. What? Let her do it?
So they were basically did not want you to defend yourself.
That's right. I just cannot believe it. I was too calm during that incident. There's just no way I have ever experienced anything like that. I've been in dangerous situations before, and you're like, and you're ready, and you're in a fight or flight kind of mode, and you're really intense, and your adrenaline's going and everything like that. This was like they were remote controlling me, where I was really calm. Yeah, that's the result of it. And this was during like some heavy incidences in my home where I didn't know I was under a Milab program at that time, but at that time, that's when all the crazy stuff was happening in the house. It was just, I cannot have that much bad luck in such a small space of time. There's just no way. And that's when
Can you go into those experiences a bit more detailed?
Well, I did in the line part one, but I'll just refresh. But like everything electrical in my house was breaking down over and 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 over again. And I had to keep replacing. And I'm talking TVs, washing machines, dryers, electrical equipment, phones, even my kids' phones and computers I had to replace 3 times. I was being run a wreck. A muck trying to survive. I'd just broken up with my husband, so I was trying to raise 2 teenagers by myself. And I was a professional singer at that time trying to survive. And all this stuff happened in a 4-month period in my home where this crazy shit just kept happening over and over and over again. It was just to put the point where it's like, this is just crazy stuff. And they were driving me mad. They were literally torturing me. And I found out from Naria Isley, she said that's why they do that, torturing to get you to stop remembering so you don't remember.
Great lady, really brilliant lady.
Yeah. I've been friends with her a long time too. And when I met her on Misha's group, see, having the same experiences. And she said they do that so you forget what happened in those underground bases when they took you out of my home. It took me to an underground base and did all that bullshit of what I told you in part 1. So it's designed that way, and that makes sense to me.
What did they do? I mean, what was the point of what they were doing? What did they do, and what was the point? Since we're talking about that in these underground bases,
I think there's I don't want to feel like I'm under a persecution complex, but we are targeted. Starseeds and light workers and indigos are headhunted and targeted for our genetics. And they want to know what's going on, hence why they do the scopolamine or the truth serum stuff, take us into underground bases, inject us with bloody stuff or tracking devices or whatever to find out what we know in our cellular memory, in our subconscious, what is going on. This is how they're finding out about stuff. I don't even know what's going on in my subconscious. I had to go to Misha to find out what was going on in my subconscious, to find out what had happened to me. So there's something with star seeds because we have a different genetics. We come from a different, I wouldn't say planet, I'd say dimension or a different frequency. I know that I'm not from here. I know that my soul is from somewhere else, and I've come here to balance that. And I know lots of light workers and indigos and star seeds say the same thing, because we look around and we go, this is wrong. We don't come from a place where people are killing each other or people are being manipulated to kill each other. There's something fundamentally wrong about that, and destroying their own planet and their earth, right? So I think we are targeted in that way, where they grab our genetics at the same time for so many different layers. There's so many different, like, this multi-dimensional of layers of what is really going on with these Milab incidences, and they're in cahoots with the Greys as well. So everybody's personal experiences are slightly different, but the overall thing is that they want information and they want to experiment on us. They want to find out what's going on. They want our genetics, all sorts of things, because we're a threat. Because you think about it, right? Two starseeds get together, and if that child becomes really powerful, we won't need the military anymore.
Well,
And
the military's been severely wound down in this country. Is it happening in your country? Is there a different kind of military happening?
It's more underground. We don't see it. We don't have a presence like they do in America. Go in America and you see the army everywhere. Everyone's got a bloody gun, that kind of thing. Here, you don't see it. We only see the military when it's disasters are happening. They're being used for that kind of thing, but it's kept out of the media. It's kept, the presence of our military here is kept underground, basically. It's not like...
Well, you got one heck of a big country or continent. I mean, there wouldn't be that huge an army, I suppose.
We've got Pine Gap in the middle too.
Yeah, and there's another area in the north. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I have.
Do you want to talk about it?
I don't know much about that, only that it's very similar to, say, underground bases with experimentation and military gear and satellites and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, it's like, I think the Americans rely on us for the surveillance and stuff like that with the satellites and stuff like that. So it's got something to do with that. But everything's multidimensional, anything's multi-layered. So God knows what's going on underneath there.
Actually, I've just had a sort of a thing about just popping into my head about Mary Rodwell. I mean, she's local, so to speak.
Yeah, I know Mary. I've had her on my show.
I think she's coming to the UK for this big conference in the summer.
Amazing woman. She does the same thing. She's on the Sunshine Coast. She does the same thing that's similar to Misha, where she's a clinical hypnotherapist, and she puts star seeds under so that you can see what's happened to us, what our memory has been wiped. And I think that's got something to do with those injections where they memory wipe you, so you don't know what's happening to you. I think more people have been abducted by military and Greys than what people realise, and they just don't know it.
Well, there are indications that the children in this country are taken on outings, and they don't actually go to where the outing is. Well, they do. They have a screen memory of the outing. They're brought, if they're going to go to the seaside, they are taken to the seaside, but meanwhile, they've been in a military base and whatever.
Yeah. I think there are more numbers. I think we are really underestimating when you think about 7.7 billion people on Earth. And, a lot of us used to think that was a very small percentage of us that were actually being abducted or taken by military and the Greys or ETs or negative ETs, and positive ones too. I think the number is a lot bigger than what people realise. I think normal 3D people have got no idea, and I think the percentage of people being taken is a lot bigger than what we realise. Huge amount of numbers. That's what I think, like closer to nearly everyone.
So you mentioned your show. Tell us all about your show, and what sort of people do you have on the show? Where can people see it, and how's it going? I mean, and you're talking about maybe doing some more stuff, technically, or radio or whatever.
I'm on 2 platforms. I'm on Truth Frequency Radio, but I'm also on a new platform that's about to launch called truthofrefugee.com.
Well, tell us all about that. Tell us all about the whole thing.
I'm going to have more access to multi-streaming on so many more different platforms. And I'll have wonderful guests coming on talking about their ET experiences. I've already lined some people up. My other show, Truth Frequency Radio, you can go on and listen to. And I've had the most amazing people, like I've had David Icon, I've had Jordan Maxwell, I've had Mary Rodwell, Laura Eisenhower,
That's
David
fantastic.
Eckert.
Jordan has so much to say. Jordan Maxwell. He's old school 1970s, 1980s stuff. It's
He's
amazing.
like the grandfather of our movement, darling. I said to him, Jordan, was Karl Marx a Satanist? And he goes, yes. Okay. Now I know where communism and all that crap came from. Because when you eat your children, that's satanic. And everywhere there's been communism, eventually they starve the population so much to the point where they're eating their own kids. And I know that sounds horrific, but that is Satanism. And that's what's going on with my country right now. It's where they're coming in and they're going to squeeze us and squeeze us and squeeze us and squeeze us to the point where, holy cow. You know what I mean?
Do you want to go a bit more detailed on that about your country and what's happening? Is people starving or what?
No, they're not starving, but it looks grim right now. We've had 9 interest rates. Rents are going up, inflation's going up, all the bills are going up, everything like that. We have a housing crisis at the moment where there's not enough affordable housing. So a lot of people are becoming homeless. We're a rich country. We supply.
Well, the corporations are rich. It sounds like Ireland all over again.
We supply a third of the world's plutonium through our minerals, through Rio Tinto. We're a wealthy country. But half of that goes to England, it did go to the Queen, but it now goes to the King, I guess. So there's all of that going on where a lot of our resources are being siphoned off to other places. And if that didn't happen, we would be even mega, mega wealthy. But I know that it's a program, and I know it's a program of fear, and I'm not going to fear about that because I'm not going to let myself be hooked into that. I'll deal with that. I'm going to deal with that when it's almost in my vision there. Then I'll deal with it because I'm not going to worry about all this crap that everyone, because it just perpetuates more and more and more and more worry and more lack. Whereas when I focus more on abundance, and then I deal with that situation when it's right in my present moment, deal with it then I've got my full focus and can deal with it right when it's happening there. I'm not going to waste my energy. So basically they're screwing us to the point where they're just, to the point where.
But there's a phrase, we are many and they are few. And you've also been mentioning that we are much more powerful. We don't know we're that powerful, but things are being released. Constraints are off. So if you move, you can attack these creatures by de-existing them out of our frequency band. I mean, am I using some language that makes any sense for you there?
Yes. And you know what else, Miles? We've got to allow for wild cards. We've got to allow for positive things that come in that we can't see yet. We're going to allow for changes, stuff like that.
We make the positive things come in. We make that happen.
We do. But we've got to focus on that. But our focus is being drawn to, interest rates. I can't pay the rent. I can't pay for food. I can't blah, blah, blah. We're very good at adapting and adjusting. It's amazing the diversity that comes out of us when we are pushed out of our comfort zones.
The so-called fear distraction.
Other things come in. Wild cards come in. We manifest that. They come in, and then we ride that wave. So that's what we're learning more about, how to manifest more positive, and that's counteracting the negative. So even though it looks really grim right now, we just got to adapt. And it's amazing when you are squeezed and pushed out of your comfort zone. It's amazing the adversity and the capabilities of coming out, and tools and techniques and gifts that we didn't even realize that we had before, and that's pushing us. So we've got to look at the good side about that, even though things look grim and it looks like sometimes when I go on, I don't watch mainstream media on the TV, but I'll go on YouTube sometimes and have a look at the news, and it's just one horror story after the next. I mean, how bad is that for your psyche, you know? No wonder people are losing it and having psychotic breaks and
Well, a
just.
whole pile of people are not watching mainstream. They're
Thank
not
God they're
getting
not.
the ratings. Don't give them the ratings. But
That's
you
right.
mentioned these beings, the tall whites and the greys and stuff. I mean, a lot of that seems to have gone or been taken away. Where do you see things now in that level that we,
I think
Elena
that.
Denan is talking stuff. I mean, there's a lot of change happening now.
Well, I think a lot of that is being cleaned up. Like I said before about the underground bases, stuff like that, and there's wars happening, and that's being cleaned up. Ready for the next stage of the horror show to come in, whether it be Project Bluebeam. I mean, how many people are talking about that right now?
Yeah, this
Um,
illusion, fake alien invasion.
Fake alien invasion, which Carol Rosen talked about, the last card, the
Yes,
last card.
wonderful
And
woman,
remember,
Carol.
Carol, the last card. I'm friends with her on. I've been friends with Carol Rosen for a really long time. She's a
Yeah,
lovely woman. I've
likewise. She's a
asked
brilliant.
her many times, please come on my show. She goes, no, I've had enough. So I think she'll focuses on her at the moment because of what happened with this last card thing. But a lot of us know that it's all theatre. How that's going to play out, I don't know, but it's going to be spectacular, that's for sure. You've got the picture here of the moon.
Yeah.
That's the picture I took when I got another V2K. I thought I was talking to my higher self, and I wasn't. It was V2K, where they said, go. I heard this voice, go outside and take a picture of the moon, and I did. And you can see these. Maybe they're the glass towers that Richard Hoagland talks about. I'm not sure, but you can see the colours here. There's green down the bottom and there's pink at the top.
Okay.
These,
It's sort of greenish there, pinkish there. Are you referring to this area and that area? What?
and then remember, this was taken in 2013, and so my iPhone was like a iPhone 3, so it was pretty, crappy. But you can still see that is not normal. It's like, and I did, because I'm looking at it going, wow, that's fascinating. And that was the ploy, you see, Miles, to hook me into thinking I'm talking to my higher self when it was actually V2K. And that's what people need to be aware of, that they're going to get these voices in their head and they're not going crazy. They actually can hear a loud, clear voice, go and do this. And you do, like the robot, oh, okay, yeah, all right, bang. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm talking to my higher self. No, you're not. It's technology.
You can talk
That was
back
the
to them. But I mean, what are you saying is in this photograph? I mean, are these objects or what? And this is something exploding, lifting off from it, or what? Like an eruption. But there are some eruptions from the moon sometimes.
I don't know, but I've heard that there's glass towers on the moon, and it could be those.
Yeah, but
And
that would be that would be miles high at this scale.
exactly. But the thing is that it was 6 o'clock in the morning, Miles. It was dusk turning into dawn. Or was it dawn turning into dusk? So it was the twilight zone. It was in between the twilight zone of. So obviously, at that particular time of the morning, when I went out really, really early, just as the sun was coming up, obviously you can see this stuff at that particular time. But then when things change and the sun comes out more and it gets later and you can't see it. So obviously it was definitely because of that particular time early in the morning when the sun is just coming out, like a mirage. You can see stuff sometimes and you can't see stuff. But it was all a ploy to get me to think I'm talking to my higher self when it was a V2K, and that is really dangerous.
Okay, what V2K was it? I mean, what were the messages?
I woke up in the morning and I heard this clear voice in my head, go outside and take a picture of the moon. Okay, great. So I did, bang, and I caught that. Then a couple of weeks later, when I had that incident where I was assaulted in the car, that's when I heard the voice to skull technology saying, let her do it. So it was definitely some sort of ploy to grease the wheels and to make me think that I was talking to my higher self, and I wasn't. Higher self doesn't talk. It gives you images. And that's the thing with the good ETs too. They don't talk to you. They give you images and feelings. When people say to me,
I mean, some people call twin flame.
When I hear people say to me, I've met ETs, I say to myself, no, you haven't. You're lying. You don't go and meet ETs. They come to you. They show themselves to you when they're ready. That's the difference. And I screen everyone. I've just given my big secret away. But I screen everyone through that because that's what happened to me. I didn't go searching to look for ETs. They came to me. They showed me the ships first, and then it became more and more and more and more and more close contact, more visions, more dreams, more in the meditations, more images, feelings, tastes, smells, that kind of thing. It's more like that. It's more interdimensional. It's not, oh, I'm going to go along and meet an ET and I've met this person. Oh, no, you're full of shit. Sorry. That's how I screen people.
I wish you wouldn't. I wish you would refrain from mincing your words.
Well, you know, us Aussies, we're pretty blunt, pretty straightforward.
So, any final words you want to sort of make sure you want to say them in this part 2? Because people are looking probably for a part 3. And Dolly, you and Dolly are good friends.
Yes. Dolly and I have had very similar experiences. We've been friends for a really, really long time. I love that girl. She's
she measured very strongly positive on the Zap checker. It was a meter, particular special kind of meter. They don't like you buying it because you can't buy it from the United States. If you can look at it, but you can't buy it.
Oh,
a particular meter is very important. And her partner or her business partner, one whole side, the amount of readings that came off him, we measured in the summer last year, very high level.
I think Dolly and I have talked, and we feel because of our similar experiences, our genetic lines have crossed somewhere. So that's what we feel. We feel that we're from the same genetic line, hence why we might be in different countries, but we've had similar experiences, and why we've attracted those similar experiences because of our DNA. That's what we feel. That's why there's a kindred like close sister spirit bond there, where we have similar experiences, and I'll talk to her. Have you seen this? Have you done that? Blah, blah, blah. I've had that. No. And it's like they're parallel, very similar.
And you both have shows. You both have things. I mean, so this is fascinating. Where do people see your show? Or is it radio, or is it in vision?
Online on Truth Frequency Radio. I've got a whole bunch of stuff there where I've been on there for 4 years, but I'm now gradually about to launch Truth Refugee next week, which will be more expansive.
Which is probably that we're looking at dates here because of the way people look at things. That would be March 2023.
That's right. And I'll be able to expand more. And we're in Jupiter at the moment for expansion. So I'll be expanding more with live video, articles, podcasts, live.
Is that sort of going to like a magazine show? Or is it going to be like an RE every day or what? Or once a week or something?
I'll do 2 shows. One show will be for the ET Starseed stuff. And the other show will be more like lifestyle entertainment, news, all that kind of stuff. So I'll be covering both aspects of that. But on Truth Refugee platform, I have the ability to write articles, do podcasts, live video, and live stream. Whereas Truth Frequency Radio, we were still on Skype. It's kind of archaic, and we had a lot of problems there. So there's a lot of stuff on there that's being rebroadcast over the past 4 years. But this new platform now, the guy took about a year to build it, and there was 12 hosts that he chose, and I was one of them. So I feel really privileged. So it was really easy for me to just slide on over there. I'll just go with the flow. and I'll be able to expand more on that one platform that will spread out to all the other different platforms, to BitChute and YouTube and all the millions of stuff that they've scattered us
And
out to.
Brighteon.com, a shout out for those guys who giving a platform for free speech. I suppose,
Yeah.
and finally, it's after midnight. It's now Wednesday in the United Kingdom. Any final sort of words, shout outs?
Well, you can contact me through subscribestar.com, Nikki Colombo, NIKKICOLOMBO. And on that platform, I have a lot of free tools and techniques to help people with their ascension symptoms, healing trauma and pain. And there are different levels there. There are a couple of tiers there that you can pay for a subscription if you want more of the in-depth stuff, and if you want live remote views as well. But go onto there and you can see a lot of tools and techniques that will get you started and will help you understand what's happening to you, and basically go through the same journey as what I went through, where you want to find out what happened to you when you're having, these strange paranormal experiences where you think you're going nuts and you're not. You're not. It's all part of the process. And once you understand what's happening with you, you become an advocate. You become an advocate for the planet Earth, and you join with the rest of us, and you help on the positive side, which is gaining more and more people now, becoming a force to be reckoned with. So
What do you mean
up.
by ascension symptoms? What is that? Getting out of bed on the wrong side more than twice every week, or what? I'm being very sarcastic.
More
What are
consciousness.
ascension symptoms?
Ascension symptoms would be more consciousness expansion, where you are getting more upgrades in your DNA, where you're becoming more expanded in your consciousness. And sometimes the symptoms can be anywhere between, it can be physical, like you could have the flu, you could have sore bones, physical symptoms, and then you can have mental symptoms, like one incidence was like, I could see spherically. What's going on there? Why am I seeing this stuff? Or if you're your third eye pops open and you're starting to see spaceships in the sky that other people can't see. Things like that. Like I said,
listen, I don't want to worry you. I don't want to sort of say something that's sort of slightly, that's a bit of a downer, but you mentioned people getting the flu. I mean, there's a few people had that little bit of a symptom. Are you saying that it's part of ascension if you've had the word that we can't say?
No, that's something completely different. That's intent from an evil force. Dum, dum, dum. Whereas ascension flu is like a mild, very, very mild flu. Sometimes you can get hot flushes, and women who are going through menopause thinking that they're going through a hot flush, and it's not. It's actually a hot flush. It can be like a download of information. And if you're gathering too much information, it can be really hot and overheat. And then it will be followed by a cool flush, like a cool down, a menthol cool down feeling, things like that. Sometimes if you're taking in too much information, you crash and you sleep for 4 hours and you wake up going, what happened? I thought it was 10 o'clock in the morning. It's now 4 o'clock in the afternoon. What happened? Things like that. And you're taking in too much information because it's all coming in at once. It was like, whoa, slow down. You can tell your higher self, slow down a bit,
Okay, you've just said tell your higher self. How do you know you're not having V2K and it's the higher self V2K that's talking back to you?
You'll be able to tell by the texture and the frequency and the feel. The V2K is very metallic, very hard, very whereas your higher self is more symbols, more softer, more cushiony, the texture's different. It's more loving, more symbols and synchronicities coming at you to put the little pieces together to get the big picture.
Signs that make sense, that lead you, is that right?
Yeah, it's softer, more positive, it's just a softer frequency. Whereas the V2K is bang, hard, comes in tough, hard, and metallic. Bang, bang, bang. Go and do this, go and do that. And you do. Oh, all right. Yeah, okay. What a bloody idiot I was. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll listen to what's going. I'm thinking I'm talking to my higher self. There's a danger in that. Don't do it. Question. Stop and go, ooh. Don't be so reactive. Otherwise, you react and then you ping pong ball to the other side and then react like a ping pong ball. It's like, stop. Stop, take a breath, be in the middle, see both sides for what it is, take a breath, learn a bit about lots of meditation techniques. I can teach you how to shield your energy. I can teach you how to work out if you're being attacked by our EMF, electromagnetic frequencies that have like a metallic taste to it and get headaches, things like that. Once you start to shield your own auric field and be aware of it and understand
Now,
it.
how do you shield your own auric field? I mean, we have the laughing stock thing. People wear tin hats, right? But how do you, I mean, this is really important that you can do that. You can shield your own field. Why? I mean, that's something I haven't heard from anybody before. Explain that.
Well, if I get up in the morning and I don't shield myself straight away, my whole day is disharmonious and I can feel energies that are really hard. I've even gotten up in the morning and gone and had a coffee and I could feel someone behind me stab me in the leg. It's a stabbing move, a stab. I'm like, wow. I get up in the morning, the first thing I do, and I use the Maharic shield. The Maharic shield, it's on my subscribe star. It's also known as the 12D shield. It's visual techniques through visualizing the Merkaba star going through your hara line and all through your chakras down, and you anchor into the planet Earth, and then you bring that up again and you spin it underneath 12 inches underneath your feet, pops open, and then you bring it up, you bring that frequency up, that pale silver light, like you're in a lipstick container. It's like a tube. And then you pull up the 12D shield. The 12D shield you will see on Kuan Yin. It's been there for thousands of years. People thinking that she's sitting on some sort of platform with these little flowers and stuff. So that's not. That's the 12D shield. It's always been there. It's part of our light body.
Sorry, could you just explain that? I didn't quite just get what you said. What type of name shield is it? Explain that.
The 12th dimensional shield,
yeah.
Or it's also known as the Maharic shield. It's always been part of our light body. We've just forgot it. When you see pictures of Kuan Yin, the Asian goddess, she's always on a round platform with these waves around it, or it looks like flower petals. That is not some stand that they've plonked her on. That is the 12D shield. That is 12 inches below our feet. It's always been there. It's part of our light body. Once you pull that up from you anchoring into the earth and you pull that energy up, it pops open. It's 12 inches below your feet. You feel your feet rumble. Your feet will rumble from it. It pops open and then you breathe up. All these visual techniques as well as the breathing. And you pull up that pale light, pale silver light, and you're in like a lipstick tube. And then you just pull up the 12D shield from below your feet all the way through your chakras, through the top and out the top of your head, 3.5 feet above your head, where your soul star is, which is where everyone gets their visuals from, which is that 14th chakra. That's where everyone gets the visuals, right? And then you create a lid and you just push it down. So you're in this frequency to the point where I'll go to the shopping center and I'll get the car park that I want. My day is more harmonious when I'm shielded up. When I don't shield up, sometimes I forget, I cop it, I get a disharmonious day. So that's how I know it works. And the more you work with it, the more things happen to you. You become more expanded in consciousness because you're protected and you can do things that are just amazing with your mind and your energy. It's all on my subscribe star, and I use it every day, and I teach everybody else to do it, and they come back to me and go, wow, what a difference my day is now, because you're learning to shield up your own energy. And it's really simple and really easy. It's not that hard. It's just that we've got to remember it. It's something that is part of our light body. It's always been there. It's just that we've forgotten.
Well, on that note, I think that's absolutely fantastic. That's the bee's knees to end on part two. And
I think so.
it's really good to hear you, really good to see you, and it's really fantastic.
Well, I'm honoured to be here, Miles. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. It's part of my mission and my gift to the world and the planet to help everybody, because we all benefit from it when we give each other great information, and that's really needed right now because of all the other stuff going on. So I'm honoured, and it's a pleasure to be
Well,
here. I love
we'll be spreading
this.
this across the Basis Project Censored, the Basis Project Restricted on YouTube. Those are still the YouTube sites, and the Basis Project on Brighteon.com, and the Basis Project on Rumble, and who knows, we might even get onto Odyssey.
Wow. What about BitChute?
I'm on BitChute anyway. That'll bump onto BitChute. Support those guys. Really good guys running BitChute. Everybody's under a lot of stress these days. Let's get through this, and remember, they may make us feel that we are incapacitated. We are going to incapacitate them.
That's right. We're more powerful than what we have been believed to believe, actually. And once we discover more of our powers, that's when we can start to really become sovereign beings, and you can't be manipulated.
Good. On that, good night.
Good night.